I keep on toiling, Lord, I'm toiling through the storm, the rain. Oh, watching, patient and waiting for my Savior. Come again, yeah. Coming home, Lord. Every day I keep trusting in Your word. Lord, when the gates swing open, I'll walk in. Lord, teach me how to treat my neighbor. Every day I want You to teach me how to love all my This is a day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. I want to thank the men of praise for that. Thank you, Brother Croft. We always enjoy your blessing us in that number. Educational Resource Ministry, thank you so much for your work for this effort. And yes, I want us to do it on this day because I don't want to do any more ask for this effort. This month is also designated to support the victims of Hurricane Harvey and now Irma. And so every Sunday you can give on the mission line for that. I've come to know and learn a long time ago that I've been blessed to be a blessing. I just know that. And I just thank God that I'm able to be the one giving the blessing than the ones needing the blessing. And so, but in the event that it comes that way, I've made enough deposits in blessing someone else, and that I can cash in on some of my dividends. Yeah, if you want to get, you got to give. And so thank you in advance for what you're going to do for our young people. Thank you so much. Let me talk to you a few minutes this morning. I got a double header today. And my battery doesn't recharge as quickly as it used to. So I need to save some of this for this evening. In the book of Daniel, the first chapter, I want to talk about, I won't read the scriptures, but I want to talk to you about keeping a tight grip in a loose world. Yeah, we looked at this some 15 years ago. I remember this passage, and so I thought we could talk about it today. Keeping a tight grip in a loose world. Amen. This is my Bible, God's holy word. It is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of our God shall stand forever. This is my Bible. This is my weapon, sword of the Spirit. Amen. Yes, keeping a tight grip in a loose world. This story in Daniel 1. Turn to Daniel, Old Testament prophet Daniel, the first chapter. And in there we find a story that if we apply it, it can serve to shape the character of Christians of every generation. The men of this story face some realities that are experienced by all of us. And those realities being real-time circumstances, real-time situations that we find ourselves confronted with that literally demand our conformity while conflicting with our beliefs. Because here in this passage we see a king and government, powerful as they were, outline a program and a process to gain success and favor within a dominant and controlling system in society. However, the four men in the text, challenged with tough decisions, demonstrate for us how to be effective within a system that governed them without compromising their core values and their beliefs. Today, many Christians, like these men, find themselves challenged not by literal kings and kingdoms per se, but challenged by kings and kingdoms personified in capitalism and corporations, who too thrust upon them many programs and processes to define success. The world in which we live has established rules of compliance, practices that are necessary, and principles needed in order to be successful in it. And the Christian finds herself many times faced with options that propose success, but yet those options challenge and conflict with their life of faith in Jesus Christ. The pressures of people, the pressures of position and possible promotions weigh heavy upon the believer's value system and sometimes causes us to lose our grip. Our grip lessens, trying to hold on to ideals and ethics while striving to move ahead, move up, make a living, make a name for ourselves. That those conflicts, those ideals, in pursuit of those positions of power and influence and prestige, they can sometimes gnaw at the very fiber of our being. Challenged and threatened, pressured by the powers that be, anxious and anxiety-ridden by the environment and invitations to compromise. The question still remains for us is, how do I keep a tight grip on my faith? How do I keep a tight grip on my individualism in a loose world? How do I get ahead without giving in? How can I get along without getting it on? Will this decision cost me my career? Will it forfeit my promotion? Will I experience isolation and rejection if I refuse to conform just a little bit? Will loosening up just a bit really be that bad? For after all, God knows my situation. Lord, how can I keep a tight grip in a loose world? Well, the good news today is that these four men, these four God-fearing men in our text answer these questions. They answered them over thousands of years ago. They answered these questions. And their example says to all of us that, yes, the demands may be overwhelming and the pressures overbearing, but yet and still it is possible to keep a tight grip in a loose world. You can keep a tight grip, first of all, by not defining, listen to me, by not defining your self-worth by the world system. Right there in verses 3 and 4, look at it. It said, and then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and nobility, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. Now, the backdrop to this is that Israel is in captivity. The judgment of God had come upon Israel and Judah, and Nebuchadnezzar, who was the Babylonian king at the time, had laid siege to Israel and carried off back to Babylon some of the prized personalities. He took the brightest and the best and relocated them in Babylon. And among those who had been carried off were these 4 men in our text. Daniel and his 3 friends. We know them by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These are the 4. So these men, now being identified, selected, had to keep their tight grip in this loose world that they were now residing in, and they were going to do so by not allowing their self-worth to be defined by the world system. In verse 3, they understood very clearly that they were brought to Babylon only to be used for the king's personal gain. Listen to me, the world will always seek to reduce your view of your self-worth to your ability to succeed on its terms. Are you listening to me? I mean, look at it again. It said, bring me, verse 4, bring these men without any physical defect. They got to be good looking. They must have aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, qualified. That would qualify them to serve in this high position that I'm about to bestow upon them. The world will always seek to reduce your view of your self-worth to your ability to succeed on its terms. And the suggestion in the passage is that the constructs provided are the only legitimate gauges of your self-worth. In essence, what the king, the parameters established, was supposed to gauge for these men their self-worth. Listen, church, the world system will use you but have no use for you. Because the world system is polluted, it's poison, it's corrupt, it's without a conscience. But you have to understand this morning that your value is not a transient commodity. What are you talking about? You have to see yourself, whether you get selected or not. You have to see yourself as being valuable in any context. See, if they didn't have it going on, they would have never been selected in the first place. So you have to always understand that you do bring something to the table. Are you listening to me? And what you bring to the table cannot be defined or given value based upon the system's perspective of who you are. You have to know who you are and whose you are when you arrive at the table. So whether they see your value or not, you have to know who you are. These brothers weren't going to lose their identity. They decided that they were not going to allow the world system to define their self-worth. But that's not the only way you keep a tight grip. You keep a tight grip by not denying your faith at the world's suggestion. Right there in verse 6 and 7, look at it. It says, so among those who were chosen were from Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. But the chief officials gave them some new names. Daniel, they renamed him Belteshazzar. To Hananiah, they called him Shadrach. To Mishael, they renamed him Meshach. And to Azariah, they start calling him Abednego. See, the world church will seek to link your identity with its operations and remove your association with anything remotely related to God, his way, and his will. What are you talking about? See, the will of the world, the will of systems in society is to rename you. And the world would try to encourage a psychological disconnection with the pressure for you to fit in. You may find yourself being the subject of conversations held